Welcome to Sneakers and Strategies, the podcast where high-level marketing throws on a fresh pair of kicks and hits the streets. Host Nick Kastner will help you find practical, actionable marketing insights that move with you. In Season 3, Nick's switching gears and going all in on Agile marketing. If you're still clinging to rigid plans and red tape, this season's your wake-up call. It's time to move fast, break patterns, and actually get done.
All right, welcome back to Sneakers and Strategies. I'm Nick, and I'm actually currently in Orlando with a client recording this for you after our session at InfoComm. So InfoComm is one of the world's largest professional audio-visual conferences, and we're here with a client collecting social media content, PR, and doing a lot of other things to develop their booth. So lots of exciting things happening. But I need to get an episode out to you guys, and so here we are. So we're continuing to talk about Agile in this episode, and we're actually starting off with Agile principle number 1. So we went through the values, and then we took a break to talk for a minute about Instagram SEO. And what we're going to talk about now are the Agile principles. And these are the principles that really focus down on marketing and how we got to the values and how we execute in actually making Agile marketing happen. So when we say Agile, again, we're not talking about look how fast we could ship a campaign, or we had a stand-up meeting one time, or I'm talking, when we talk about Agile, and when I talk about Agile on this podcast, I'm talking about real process-busting, ego-checking Agile marketing. And today, we're talking about something that honestly makes or breaks all of it. And so that first principle is that great marketing requires close alignment, transparency, and quality interactions with internal and external customers. That's the first principle in the Agile Marketing Manifesto's principles, and there's a reason for it. Because if your communication is trash, your strategy doesn't matter at all. So we're going to start with mindset. Here's what people get wrong about Agile. They think it's just a new way to plan work. They think it's a new way to put sticky notes on a board, or a new way for them to use Asana or whatever project management system they're using. But Agile isn't really a process. It's a mindset. It's a shift in how you show up, how you collaborate, and how you make decisions. Agile marketing means we don't hide behind marketing briefs or plans. Many marketers do that. Agile marketing means we don't do the wait 3 weeks for feedback dance. It also means we don't treat internal teams and agency partners like separate countries with closed borders. Right? We actually have to work together, and it means we have to align. And that's real alignment. It's not just, Slack emojis and Google Docs, and it's actually messy. It means human conversation. It means that you have to talk to one another. And if you're trying to move fast, but nobody knows what anyone else is doing, you're just creating chaos. That's not Agile. You're just creating a giant mess for everybody else to clean up. So if we want to get real on how we do this, we have to break down the communication barriers. And most organizations have communication like a game of telephone on mute. Strategy lives in a document that only 3 people read. Creative's done in isolation. People aren't communicating with one another. Analytics is only brought in after a campaign fails. So no one looks at the data until it's over, and then it's already failed miserably. And your agency partners, they're somewhere out there waiting on version 9 of a brief that you never approved. So that's not how that should work. That's where Agile breaks down. And that's where organizations break down. So when you do Agile correctly, Agile teams actually collaborate early and often. The walls between departments and vendors and leadership and agencies just get torn down. And that's where things get messy. And out of that mess comes clarity. If you've seen Andor season 2, you know exactly what I'm about to say. But for an organization, if you break down the communication barriers, that clarity is like Saul's Rhydonium rocket fuel, right? If you've seen it, Saul's now famous speech, but it fuels the effort, it fuels the passion, fuels the rebellion. So you want marketing to actually land somewhere, you actually have to be aligned. And that means communication. So you need to make sure that internal alignment has happened, so everybody knows what matters. You need to make sure that you have open feedback loops internally and externally. And you also need to know that your agency partners aren't treated like Uber drivers, just given a destination and then ghosted. You actually have to work with them. And so let's start on that for a second. Your agency partners are not just extras in your movie or your television show. They're core members of the cast. That agency relationship, the agency client relationship is critical. If you're trying to implement agile marketing and you don't have a good relationship with your agency, you're doing it wrong. Because if you're working with an agency and they only hear from you when it's time to just execute, or you reach out when you need something and you're not communicating with them frequently, you're wasting your money, your time, and their time. Agile marketing means your agency is not downstream. They're in the room upstream. They're at the whiteboard. They're in your idea sessions. They are in testing. They're in the what if we tried this conversations. I've been in marketing for a long time, and I've seen this frequently in my over 20 years of marketing, and on both sides, both the client and the agency. If you can only tell your agency no, or if you can only tell your agency not now, or that we'll never do that thing, and you're not willing to bring them in as part of the team, and all you can do is continue to criticize them, why? Isn't that why you hired them? Did you not hire them to bring a fresh perspective? Like, the idea of bringing in an agency, the benefit of it is that they do bring a fresh perspective. They're not inside your organization. What they can bring to you is a new perspective that you may not have had before. They are consultants. It's strategic distance. Also, it is specialized talent. The people that you have hired in the agency have been doing it for years. And so if you're a small or medium business and you've never worked with anybody in marketing, but you've been successful, so has your new agency partner. But the only way the relationship works is if you bring them on the inside. That means you have to share information with them. That means you have to involve them in planning, not just production. They're not just interns, and they're not just creative tools. They're not, it's not artificial intelligence. You're not just telling them what to design and they're designing it. You should allow them to do what they do best, because their years of experience can provide a whole lot of value if you'll listen to them. It also means that you have to make feedback a conversation, not a verdict. So every conversation you have with your agency isn't how much you hate their work. It isn't how much you don't like the one word that's in some creative piece they made. You actually have to treat your agency like a teammate. They're part of your team. They're not a vendor. You shouldn't go from project work to brand evolution. Like, you have to make sure that you have to go from project work to brand evolution. You have to make sure that you're not just hiring them to knock out, like, it's not like a checkbox. They're not just marking checks down a sheet. You really do have to bring them in as partners. And I might be on my high horse a little bit about this, but I've just seen so many relationships go sideways because they're not treated as partners. And that's on both sides. Again, I've been on the client side where I've seen that happen. Been on the agency side where I see that happen. And the best relationships are when you both trust each other, you both work together, and guess what? Sometimes magic really does happen. And that's because of that trust and that relationship. The best relationships for the agency are when they're like that, and the best relationships for you as a client are like that. And so that transparency is not optional. That's actually the superpower. That's the weapon. Transparency isn't about radical honesty for the sake of it. It doesn't mean you have to be mean. It's about speed. If the strategy isn't working, say it. If the customer isn't responding, say it. If the product has limitations, say it. You can't just blame your marketing team or your agency for a product issue. So too many marketers today spend more time managing perceptions than performance. You're too busy looking at what it looks like how people are going to perceive you, than it is actually trying to fix things. You also tend to hide things until you're forced to change, or you're hiding things trying not to get fired. Again, I see this a lot too. You cannot hide stuff from your team. You can't hide stuff from leadership. You can't hide stuff from your agency and agencies. You can't hide stuff from your clients, because here's the thing: until you can't wait till somebody's mad. Think about it this way: it's kind of like quietly hating your spouse until you both dislike each other so much you end up in divorce, when in reality you just wish they would have put the toothpaste lid on. Right? Something really silly, but you just never talked about it. It's about transparency. That's not a difficult thing if you just open your mouth and say it. And again, you don't have to be mean about it. Agile teams, the ones that succeed in marketing, pull back the curtain fast. You just create trust. It's not about being transparent to be mean or to shed light on all the negative things. You want to be transparent about all things, because that creates trust. Trust creates speed. Speed creates momentum. Momentum wins. So how do you build these quality interactions? Not just making more meetings. What is it you actually have to do? Because we're talking about communication and making sure that we're communicating, being transparent, all these ideas. Lots of great things, I think, for any organization. Well, it's about interaction. Sometimes in business, we think interaction and communication means more meetings, and that more meetings means more collaboration. No. Nobody needs another meeting that could have been an email or text message. Nobody. So Agile doesn't mean more, it means better. So when we talk about Agile marketing and the way that we should communicate, we need transparency and better communication. It's better. It's not more. So here's how you level that up. Weekly 30-minute syncs with cross-functional teams. Right? So making sure that you keep your agendas tight. This is not a 4-hour meeting. This is a 30-minute meeting, and it's very focused. You have dedicated communication channels. Sometimes that's Slack. Sometimes that is Microsoft products, Microsoft Teams. It could be all sorts of things. But a dedicated channel for projects, and limit the noise. Tag with purpose. Don't just communicate to communicate. Be specific. Collaborative briefs that everyone contributes to. These are not commandments. It's not like these stone tablets that have been created. It is collaborative, and things can change. And then live creative reviews. And when you do creative review, you talk with strategy, you talk with creative, you talk to analytics in the same or virtual room, and then everyone communicates together. This is not some sort of, ship the creative and good luck, Godspeed. It really does mean you all have to work together, because the point is to align early, revisit when needed, right? Revisit often, and then you get rid of this idea that there's a middleman of everything. Just knock things out. That slows stuff down. You really want to make sure that the right people are in the right room at the right time. And then when you do all those things well, you know who notices? It's not just the internal team or your agency or leadership. It's not just that. The customer. The customer notices. They know when the brand voice shifts. They know when the ad overpromises and the product doesn't deliver. They know when the support team has no idea what the rest of your marketing team's doing. Agile marketing isn't just about working better internally. It's also about making the customer experience cohesive and clear and consistent and better. So when your team's aligned, everything works as it should. Messaging feels as if it's intentional. Creative feels tight and cohesive. There's obvious value. Remember the purpose of marketing, not just agile marketing, all marketing is to create value. Who are you creating value for? Well, obviously the company, if you're selling stuff correctly, but in order to sell stuff, you have to create value for the consumer. And so when you're doing all the things right, everyone gets value. You're doing the right things. And that's not magic. That's alignment. That's what marketing's supposed to do. So the challenge for this week, we're going to put some sneakers on the principle here. I want you to pick one project you're working on right now. Again, can't jump in feet first with everything here. But I want you to pick one project. And I just want you to list out who's involved. Internal, external, like who's involved in this project. And then, when was the last time you all talked together? Just sat down and had a conversation. And if the answer's never, you need to fix that now. Set a 30-minute meeting on a calendar. Bring everybody in. Analytics, agency, whoever's involved in the project. And don't wait for a formal agenda. The alignment is the agenda. Make sure everyone's on the same page. Keep it simple. You don't have to make that hard. And many times we try to make these sort of things way too hard. Don't do that. So, look, marketing doesn't really get easier, but it can get smarter. And, as we enter this sort of new area that I think marketing is about to take off into with AI, where, marketers themselves are going to be questioned because now computers quote unquote can do their jobs. I don't think computers can do their jobs. I think it takes communication, alignment, transparency, quality interaction to do really good work. That can't be replaced. And the strategic thought and the experience cannot be replaced. And so these ideas, alignment, transparency, quality interaction, agile, those aren't buzzwords. They're not how you get some sort of reactive chaos and turn that into momentum. That's not how that works. But they can be real forces of nature in making your organization move the way it should. All right. So next episode, we're going to break down principle number 2, seeking out different and diverse points of view. Again, another scary thing. For some of you, it's really scary. For others, you already know the value in the diversity of opinions. So until then, I'm going to get back to Infocom tomorrow and then head back to Georgia. But until then, be honest, be transparent with your team, and make all your marketing partners, everybody involved in marketing, feel like family. When you're all working together for the same purpose and the same cause, everything tends to align. All right, that's it for this episode. This is Sneakers and Strategies. I'm Nick, and I'll see you next time.